With the hosts of The View constantly getting into heated arguments with each other as well as with their guests, there seems to be more drama than constructive conversation around the table some days.
Happening now. We're gonna keep... Girl, please stop talking. Please stop talking right now.
Welcome to The Rewind. In this video, we'll be counting down the top 10 fights on The View. Number 10. Barbara Walters versus Elizabeth Hasselbeck. During a piece on Plan B, or what Walters refers to as the morning after pill, Elizabeth tells her co-host that she believes taking Plan B is the same as birthing a baby and leaving it out on the street. Walters conjures up a scenario where a young woman is raped and is seeking out a way to avoid a pregnancy and just move on with her life. Hasselbeck, who's obviously very passionate about the topic, quickly monopolizes the conversation, sharing her opinions on the matter. At one point, Elizabeth gets so worked up that Walters interrupts her and tells her to calm down and reminds her of the importance of listening to the opinions of others.
But everybody has strong opinions, and there are many other arguments that other people could give you.
Number 9. Whoopi versus Kate Gosselin. During an interview with Kate Gosselin, Kate tells a story of a time where her ex-husband John had custody of their children and hired a babysitter who Kate didn't approve of. Kate showed up at the house to ask if she could watch the kids instead. But due to their custody agreement, Kate wasn't allowed to enter the property. A verbal argument ensued, and the police were eventually called and asked Kate to leave. After Kate tells her story and explains why she did what she did, Whoopi admonishes her for acting so recklessly and tells her that she could have gone to jail for what she did. Number 8. Whoopi versus Donald Trump. In 2011, Donald Trump made an appearance on The View where he discussed, among other things, Barack Obama's birth certificate. Trump was insistent on Obama providing his birth certificate to prove that he was born in the United States. Whoopi is confused and asks if Trump realizes that Hawaii is part of the United States, but it's when Trump claims that there's something on Obama's birth certificate that he doesn't want the American people to see when Whoopi really loses it. Whoopi can't listen to these allegations anymore and goes so far as to tell Trump that his accusation is the biggest pile of dog mess she's heard in ages. Number 7. Ola Rosa versus Joy Behar. At the time of this interview, Ola Rosa was working for the Trump administration as the Director of Communications for the Office of Public Liaison. Joy introduces Ola Rosa as the supervillain of the first season of Donald Trump's reality series, The Apprentice, and pokes fun at Ola Rosa's job at the White House by asking her if she has to genuflect to the president every morning.
Our next guest is actually working for the Trump administration. America first met Ola Rosa as the supervillain of the first season of The Apprentice.
Behar, an adamant opponent of Trump, spends the interview pushing for the president to apologize for his actions, while Ola Rosa defends her boss and exhibits unwavering support for the president. The interview quickly turns into a yelling match, with Ola Rosa deflecting questions launched by Behar and the other co-hosts. The fight really comes to a head when Ola Rosa tells them how happy her fiancé makes her and then sarcastically tells Behar that she hopes she can find some joy in her own life. Number 6. Rosie O'Donnell versus Elizabeth Hasselbeck. It all begins with Joy Behar explaining why she thinks President George W. Bush should be thrown out of office. This already has Hasselbeck on edge, but it's when Rosie asks Hasselbeck if she thinks Iraq is the country that attacked the United States on 9/11. A screaming match quickly ensues between O'Donnell and Hasselbeck, which Joy Behar attempts to squash, before Rosie interrupts and claims that the media will spin the fight as big fat lesbian Loud Rosie attacking pure innocent Christian Elizabeth. The argument ends with O'Donnell vowing not to fight with Hasselbeck anymore, not because she doesn't want to damage their relationship, but because she's tired of the way it gets spun in the media. Number 5. Whoopi versus Meghan McCain. While discussing the impeachment trial of President Trump, Meghan and co-host Sunny Hostin begin talking over each other as Meghan is trying to explain the politics of the issue. Whoopi attempts to intervene and change the subject, but Meghan quickly shuts her down by asking whether or not her fellow co-hosts care to hear a conservative opinion. Whoopi doesn't take too kindly to Meghan's retort and begs her to stop talking, to which Meghan responds that she won't talk for the rest of the show.
We're gonna keep... Girl, please stop talking. Please stop talking right now. Because you know what? What's happening? Thank you.
I won't talk the rest of the show. No problem.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Whoopi tells her that she's perfectly happy with Meghan not talking for the remainder of the show and cuts the commercial. Number 4. Joy Behar versus Meghan McCain. Yet another instance of politics quickly igniting an argument between co-hosts. While discussing the crisis at the Mexican border, Behar asserts that the solution is to give aid to the countries that the people are fleeing from. McCain scoffs at Behar's solution and begins to steal the conversation away when Behar asks McCain to let her finish. McCain not so kindly informs Behar that part of Behar's job is to listen to McCain, which does not sit well with Behar. Luckily, Whoopi is there to jump in right before things get too heated and asks everyone to just listen to one another. Number 3. Ann Coulter versus Whoopi Goldberg. Ann Coulter appears on The View to promote her new book, Mugged, which is about race in America, and manages to upset the ladies of The View as soon as the interview begins. Within minutes, Whoopi interrupts Coulter and tells her that if she's going to talk about race, she should at least know what she's talking about, and then proceeds to ask Coulter how much she knows about being black. Whoopi really loses her cool when Coulter starts talking about black history and claims that liberals never cared about black people. Whoopi tells Coulter that back in the early 1900s, everyone was a segregationist, regardless of whether they were Democrats or Republicans, to which Coulter replies that Republicans absolutely were not segregationists, and that Whoopi should read her book to learn more about it. Whoopi retorts with an expletive that's censored out of the show and tells Coulter that she doesn't have to read her book because her grandmother, who was alive during that time, told her everything she needs to know.
You keep saying if you would read chapter 14, if you read, you make such divisive comments. It makes people not want to pick up your book and read it. So
people will agree with her, read it.
Number 2. Whoopi versus Jeanine Pirro. Here we've got a showdown so epic that it starts on screen and ends up coming to a head backstage. As a guest on the show, Judge Jeanine Pirro accused Goldberg of having what she calls Trump derangement syndrome. There's a heated exchange between the two that ends with Whoopi ripping up her notes, holding up her hand to Pirro and telling her goodbye. According to Pirro, she tried to talk to Whoopi backstage after the segment, but Goldberg got in her face and hurled expletives at her before telling her to get out of the building. Whoopi claims that Pirro had some unkind words for the co-hosts once the cameras stopped rolling and got up in her face backstage, which caused her to lash out at Pirro. Number 1. Joy and Whoopi versus Bill O'Reilly. Here we've got another instance of Whoopi getting so worked up during an interview that they have to cut out the audio. During the interview with Bill O'Reilly, the topic of a Muslim mosque in New York City comes up. O'Reilly strongly believes that the mosque is inappropriate, given that the terrorists responsible for the 9/11 attacks were Muslim. The interview really goes off the rails when O'Reilly tells Whoopi that Muslims killed Americans on 9/11. It does not take long before Joy Behar gets up and tells O'Reilly that she doesn't want to sit near him anymore and walks off stage, with Whoopi following right behind. The two co-hosts make a quick return to the couch, but only after O'Reilly apologizes for insinuating that all Muslims were responsible for the attacks. So, do you agree with this list? Give this video a like and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And check out these other videos from The Rewind, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss another video again. Thanks for watching.